Hello world, this is Nick Jackson and welcome to One Word Wednesday. I have my friend, I have my favorite teacher. This person is really just love me well. Ladies and gentlemen, get loud for Mary Rose. Mary Rose Lierman.
Hey, Nick Jackson, thank you for having me today. I'm super excited that you thought of me. So this is awesome. And the love, it's mutual.
Yes, thought of you, please. This is your word. Like when I'm thinking about somebody who's struggled with trust, when I think about somebody who has to build in trust from their students, politically and in the classroom, like this is your word. Mary Rose, when you hear the word trust, what do you think of? What comes to your mind?
Trust, to me, what comes to my mind right away is the little moments. Why do we trust people? What does it look like to trust? And how forging positive relationships through trust, and how trust is such a big one. It's such a big one. When someone says they trust you, to me, that's one of the biggest compliments you can give me. You trust me. You trust that I'm going to show up when I say I'm going to show up. Right. You trust I'm going to take your call, or I'm going to be there. I'm going to act on our relationship. I'm going to care about you. You trust me. The trust is like, to me, it's the foundation of solid relationships.
Right? I gotta tell you, when I think of the word trust, I think of myself as a little baby. There's a picture of me, and I'm this little chunky, chocolate, cute little something, you know what I mean? And like my grandfather would throw me in the air and catch me around my belly, right? And I thought that was just the coolest thing in the world because I hadn't been dropped. Right. And so like in that situation, you can see my arms are out, my face is smiling, and I'm like, catch me. Right. But like when I think of the word trust, I think about the times that I wasn't caught. Like when I think about trust, I think about broken trust. I think about pain. And since I was a baby, the people that I trust, like literally has narrowed exponentially. Has this happened in your life?
Yes, it has. That's an unfortunate reality of life, right? And I'm sure that as much as my trust in people has been broken, or I also have broken trust. And I
know why.
You know, and I learned from that. You know, I think that's the greatest thing. And I think people that have broken your trust, they typically they don't realize it's the small moments that matter.
Yeah.
They don't realize that it's just catching you when you come back down. It's just showing up when you say you're going to be there.
Right.
It's just seeing a need and saying, "Hey, I got you." Or you trusted somebody with your story, and they share your story as if it's their own.
Right.
And you end up creating circles of untrust. I don't know. I just think trust, as Brene Brown says, it's these small moments that are like, that fill this up. Like, who fills your jar of trust, and who are those people, and what is it about them they trust? And do you trust yourself? Right. Are you trustworthy?
Right.
You want to know the autonomy of what trust is, and you want to make sure, am I staying within my own guidelines and boundaries, and keeping myself in check, you know, because I want to be trustworthy. I heard someone once say, which I thought was funny, is they said, hey, if you ever want to, or like they would see a friend in passing, "Oh, it's good to see you. I'll call you. We'll get together," knowing they're probably not going to get together, instead of just saying, "It was good to see you."
Ah, right. Yeah.
I mean, I think trust is that small.
That
big.
But I got to tell you, so when I went to see you at Oak Hills High School, I remember there was this one time where you met me down on the basketball court, and we were about to speak to a large group of students. And as you came out, there was also students that were like around you or behind you that I can tell trusted you, right? Like I can tell that, like, even the students that I met this weekend that knew you, there was something about you that they trusted and they loved, but love and trust are two different things. So my question to you is, how do you build that trust into them? Not just what trust is, how do you get them to trust you, and what does that mean to you?
One, I value when anyone trusts me. That, to me, trust is part of love. I mean, it is. You know, could you imagine being in a marriage and you don't trust your spouse?
Come on, yeah.
You know, kids need to trust their teachers. And teachers like to think that it's a big thing, that it's these big, huge actions that you do.
Right.
But in reality, kids trust the person that shows up. The person that's, good morning, how are you? It's the person that sees that pain in their eyes and asks, are you doing okay?
Right.
It's the person that says, hey, I'm going to be at your soccer game this weekend, and you show up.
Right, you actually show up, yeah.
Or the person that you know is going through a heartache at home, and you don't avoid the conversation, but you say, hey, I'm here if you need me. And what does that look like to build trust is those little moments that you act upon. You know, and I think all of us, we tend to trust people that you can, that literally say what they're going to do and they do it and they follow through. And I think kids with teachers, they want teachers, that's a person that shows up every day that says, good morning, it's good to see you. How are you? You're building a trust in that space. Or the kid that doesn't know how to learn something and they're scared to death to let you know, I cannot read this.
Right.
They are scared to death to let you know that this, I don't know how to do this. But then when they trust you, they tell you they're vulnerable. They say, hey, I don't know how to do this. And when they share that with you, you let them know that doesn't matter.
Right.
You're here today because I love you, and you have gifts and you have strengths and you have talents. And by God, I'm going to feed into what you can do and not beat you up for what you can't do. The more kids feel trust in classroom, the more likely they will learn and grow. You might never be a mathematician, but by God, you're going to know what you need to know so that you don't get ripped off.
I got to tell you, so when I was in college, and just so everybody knows, we used to do speeches together. I first started doing speeches with Mary Rose while I was in college through the Project Excel. Now, when I was in college, there was a moment where I think we're at Crosby Elementary in Harrison, Ohio. You know what I mean? And we were speaking to the kids, and I recognized that I wasn't used to speaking with other people. So like in school, I was deemed as learning disabled, and in the community, I was kind of seen as a problem, you know, a problem child, and there was really no answer for me. But when I spoke, right, I got a lot of accolades, and so you were probably one of the first people that I shared a stage with, and I wasn't very good at doing that. Do you know what I'm saying? And so like. And so I was struggling, you know, and you spent time with me. And because you spent time with me, it opened up the door for me to be able to share this one thing that I'm really good at, you know, with someone else. And I just want to say thank you for that. So when I thought about the word trust, the reason why I chose you is because I was in a place of distrust of other people. And not even noticing that my distrust, right? My distrust could have been let go by me literally letting it go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm holding on to distrust. I'm holding on to what I received from them, and I'm not giving you a fair shake. Like I'm not allowing you to be the awesome Mary Rose that you are, because I'm holding on to some pain back then. So with trust, especially now that we're doing this online, like how are you teaching your students now to let go of to let go of those things, to be able to trust again? How do you do that?
I think what I try to do is, especially with kids that have very broken situations, whether it's at home, whether it's not fitting in at school, I mean, whether it's a private struggle that I can't see, I think with all kids, I try to let them know that today's a new day. When it comes to trust, I mean, you know, Nick, you and I go way back, you know, along my road, my journey, there's been a lot of broken trust, a lot of promises broken, people that didn't show up that said they would. And I think for me, the greatest thing is realizing that, you know what, it's okay. Today's a new day.
Right.
I need to build trust in myself. If you don't trust yourself, I think that is one, like I love Maya Angelou once quoted an African proverb, and she said that you can't ask a man without a shirt for a shirt.
Yeah.
And I wish I got to say it the way she said it because she's so much better at this. It says, there is an African saying, which is, be careful when a naked person offers you a shirt. So let me say that again. Be careful when a naked person offers you a shirt. How can I have to start with trusting myself as a teacher. I have to start trusting myself as a friend and as a person and trusting my judgment.
Wow.
And then that way I can teach trust through my small actions every day.
Right, right.
You said it simple. You said, Mary Rose, my time with you. We built trust in time and conversation. Nothing fantastic or huge or grandiose happened, but Nick, I trust you because when I needed something, you were there, whether it was small or whether it was big, whether it was making a phone call or, hey, let's go grab coffee. And we sit down and I share with you something and you hold on to that. And in time, I'm like, man, this guy, our marble jar of trust
right.
is all moments. So as a teacher, every day you walk into that classroom, this is one student. I drop a marble of trust by talking positive, by building into them what's good. And when they share with me that they can trust, I will act in their best interest. And I think it's same with friends. Our greatest friends are the ones we trust. And I think it's the simple moments. When you talk about politics, Nick, you and I were saying, you know, you asked me some things. How do we trust these people?
Right.
It's those little moments. How did they act off camera? Did they answer my email when I emailed them with a concern?
Right.
Did the small actions happen? Are they good to their family? You know, like looking at, hey, do they make good decisions? Is their money where their heart is? You know, like there's things like I don't know them personally. And when I do know them personally, I need those small moments.
Can I pause you real quick?
Yes.
To cut you off, but this just reminded me of something. So when you first got engaged to your now husband, I actually was doing a service event over on the West Side. And it was like a day like today. So I'm in the Love Lab right now. The air conditioning's off. I'm sweating. It is hot up in here. You know what I mean? But like I had a moment with him, and I told him that I didn't think you would ever date publicly again and or get married. And he told me, he was like, why? He was like, why? And I was like, because Mary Rose is a great friend, but she really doesn't trust guys. He said this thing. Well, one, he gave me a bottle of water, which was awesome, building trust, right? Hot day, he gave me a bottle of water. And two, he goes, you know, she has every reason and every right not to ever trust men ever again. And I'm honored that she trusts me. And I build on that, right? So for some reason, she trusts me. And he was like, this isn't easy. You know, it's not an easy thing to build trust in someone who's had their trust broken, but she's worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was sitting there like with his ice cold water, like, man, I'm ready to marry you, cuz. Like that was like that was phenomenal. You know what I mean? And so he is in his police regalia, and I know He has to build trust in every police stop, every interaction he has with people like me that I've had bad interactions with police, right? And he build trust. He built trust in me in that moment by giving me time and supporting me where I'm at right now. And I can tell that he does that for you, or he did that for you at that time too. And like, I just give him so much props. My question to you is, if you were talking to a group of kids about, or a group of people, period, right, about building trust in others, what would you say as this is how you do it?
Small actions every day. Small. Trust is not built in a moment. It is over time. It is your actions. You know, like you said, I struggled with trust, and I met my husband, and, you know, I had some rough go around with relationships, but what he did was the small moments and gestures that build trust. I will be there when I say I'm going to be there. Right. It could be the simple things, pouring you a cup of coffee, asking how your day was, and listening. Right. I think building on trust is the consistency of small things. As a friend, if I continuously take your call and show up, and I do think it's about giving and receiving. Right. Nick, if you just give to me, I don't feel valued in our friendship, because I'm like, I need to give you too, and you need to receive. So I do think trust in all areas, as kids especially, like trust, maybe your trust was broken. You got to learn to trust yourself and your intuition. And then you have to say, okay, if I want to be a trustworthy person, then when I say I can babysit your kids on a Friday night at this time, I'm not going to call last minute and say, oh, can't make it, something better came up.
Right.
You know, one of my brother-in-laws is a great example of someone that people trust. And the reason why I'm going to use him as an example is because years ago, he was just a kid, and he started a lawn business, and I'm talking a long time ago. But he was a kid that showed up, and he was respectful, and he was kind. Many years later, he runs into a woman at a restaurant, and she says to him, hey, are you so-and-so? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, hey, are you an attorney now? He's like, yeah. She's like, can you help me out with something? It wasn't that she saw him at this restaurant. It was the relationship and trust he built when he was a kid. Yeah. So your actions now are building into your little jar of little moments of trust. If you want to build trust, you have to start with yourself. And then your actions have to show you are trustworthy. If someone shares something with you and it's their secret, you have to hold true to that secret. Let them tell their story. Maybe get them, like you can say, hey, I'm going to ask someone to help you with this. But let that, like just all those things about being a friend. My mom is 80 years old, Nick Jackson, and to this day, she still has her friends from when she was really young. One of her best friends since kindergarten. And I swear it's because she always built trust since the time she was 5 years old.
Wow.
You know, I was that person. I did burn friendships. I did break trust. And I look back and I think, wow, those little moments. When Nick told me this and I went and told this guy this, that hurt him. It hurt our friendship. So in two, I think we confide in each other. Nick, if I come to you as a friend and I'm talking smack about my other friend, or you and I then now are engaged in hating somebody. Right. I'm sharing their story, and it's like, you and I don't want that. And I think for kids, we all want to be supported, valued, loved. And I think building trust starts with ourselves. Trust yourself. Do the right thing. And when you feel called to act. Yes. Because that action builds trust. You know, you see someone crying, you go to them. Are you okay? What's going on? And also know in your life who fills your jar. Who is that person that shows up? I mean, you know, Mama Jackson, she filled your jar. She did. Yeah, she showed up. She told you what's up. She cared for you. She fed you. She made sure you were educated. All those things you trust Mama Jackson.
Yeah.
We always need to know who fills our jar and what little moments did that for us, so that we can now take our marbles and fill other people's jar of trust.
You know what? And I know I have to close in this at some point. We can continue this outside. But I want you to know, sometimes I didn't know that I was a jar filler. I didn't know that I had extra marbles that I could actually donate and invest in other people. And I didn't know that if I handed a marble, if I handed a good deed, or if I handed consistency, or if I did that, if it was ever going to come back to me. So what I started doing was I stopped putting into other people's jars in fear that no one would put into mine. And what I recognized was I wasn't putting into my jar either. You feel what I'm saying? So I just had marbles on the ground, right? And so what I did was I saw people like yourself, right, that was actually giving to other people's jars, and how much joy you had in it, right? And how it was benefiting you in a multitude of different ways. And it changed my mindset on trust. So
oh my God. Well, thank you, Nick Jackson. How about that?
It's the truth.
Hey.
It wasn't something where I had to get something to trust you, right? It was a situation where I had the opportunity to be trustworthy. And because I do, I can set the stage so you can meet me there. No expectations on you. And like that right there, now you may have had an expectation on me, I don't know. But like for me, that's how I operated in it coming out of my freshman year of college.
Well, I would say for all of us right now, it's so easy to not trust. So we have to do the work now to trust ourselves and to feed ourselves that trust and that love, show up for ourselves and take care of ourselves, and trust our intuitions, and trust that minute when you feel like, oh, I should do that for that person, go ahead and do it. Don't wait, do it. Do it. And I also think now when people are like, you're not trustworthy, then I need to check myself. And I also need to be careful of people that I don't trust. And if I don't trust them, it's okay. There are people,
right.
It's okay, but now you know, like, and you know, if you have your guidelines, which I swear I keep referring to Brene Brown, I'm telling you, watch her thing on trust. It's amazing. Because I really think she just kept saying trust is built in small moments, and it's so true. So, but Nick, I trust you as a friend, and I think it's important that it's kind of right now with what's going on in our country, in our world, one thing I do think is important is relationships with police officers and kids. And you know, my husband's a police officer, and I try to check my biases on that. But I do think what I mean by that, by small moments, if a police officer sees this video, I hope that they take those small moments, an opportunity to make change. And what that looks like is when you see someone that's hot, grab a bottle of water. To the school resource officers that are in the schools, talk to the kids. Let them know you're human, that you have kids at home, you have dogs, you have heartache, you have good times, you have bad times. And you and I both know that there are some people we cannot trust. But I think it is very important that our police officers build into our children with small moments of trust. That they are here to serve and protect them. And right now, I can't imagine being a kid seeing the news right now. And there's there's corruption and there's hard things. So it's like, how do we trust? And I just want to throw this out there. There are really wonderful police officers you can trust. And I hope in time that this heals with small moments of showing that.
And I just want to say that your husband spent time with me, and I noticed how our relationship at that time changed. And it wasn't like I thought he was bad, but he is a cop. And like I've had issues with police officers before. And sometimes I walk into this situation a little tense. That one was one of them. Do you know what I mean? And so when he came to me and said who he was, and I was like, dude, I'm so surprised that she got engaged, right? Like we started this relationship. And what I had the opportunity to do was look past the badge, you know? And once I was able to do that, it was great. But here's the thing also, like there has been a level of education that has been taught through generations to fear police, to fear police, fear whatever. And just like I walked in seeing his badge and having trepidation, he might walk in and see me for whatever reason, right? See my color, see my size, see whatever, and have trepidation too. This goes both ways. And the only way that we can get to the point where we can communicate, like I need him to see past my color, see my color because I think it's beautiful, right? And I need to look past his badge, but see his badge because I think the badge is pretty dope too. And like and recognize that we have these greatnesses within us.
Yeah. And also just the human trust, right? Like if we don't get past our differences, regardless, I mean, what's sad is that you have to think about the color of your skin when someone approaches you. Yeah. What's sad is that police officers, they have to think I'm behind a badge. What are the preconceived notions of me? That's why it's so important that right now that all of us build trust by saying, hey, I'm worthy of trust. Look at my actions. Don't look at the color of my skin. Yes. Don't look at the badge I stand behind. Look at the content of this person's heart and their character. How do we trust each other? Of course, I couldn't imagine some of these young kids that are Black that are seeing this on the news and hearing this and saying, oh, please trust them. Trust them when you're hurting.
You're right.
Call them when you're lost or broken. Yeah. And you're like, wait a minute. Why? So I think that, again, we have to come to a place of small actions. This is not going to change overnight, Nick Jackson. But I know for a fact, we can make a difference by trusting ourselves. If there is a bias, if I come at you, Nick Jackson, and there's something in my head that's because you're a Black man, I have to check that bias. You are Nick Jackson, my friend. You are Nick Jackson, a man. You are Nick Jackson of solid trust and action. People that know you act on what matters in your heart. And I think I don't want to ever come at you and assume you're like anybody else.
Right.
You're Nick Jackson. I'm Mary Rose Lierman. I mean, I'm just a person. We are human with flesh and we make mistakes. And I think our biggest mistake right now is that we are not loving each other for people and giving people those small actions that show trust and love and understanding. And I think that when in time, if we could teach kids, hey, respect them. And you know what? If somebody does injustice to you, you will have a Mary Rose and Nick Jackson fight for you.
Yes, yes.
And you can trust me on that. I don't care. It doesn't matter. What is wrong, and we will fight for you.
Yes.
But if we can't do small acts of kindness and small acts of constantly showing trust and care,
it's over.
It's over.
I can't stand when I hear young, especially Caucasian girls say, I'm basic, right? Right? I can't stand that. Like I'm a basic whatever, right?
What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I've never heard that.
Like average white latte drinking valley girl kind of like, oh, you just a basic whatever, right?
Okay, gotcha.
Also, there's a song, this rapper says that she's a savage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be cool, right? Like that's supposed to be cool, and we're promoting this. I see not only is there an issue with trusting other people, our own kids' identities are being tied up in these negative connotations. And the way I love that you do, and you don't always, and I probably do it too, but I'm not on the outside looking in, is that people that have been in your class or people that have been in around you have been able to be themselves.
That is, Nick, could you imagine going into a room every day and not be yourself? I mean,
yes, I can.
You know,
yes.
yeah, and isn't it don't you feel suffocated?
I mean, that's a part of that. That's been a part of my existence, is trying to be what other people feel safe with.
Yeah. So I think trusting yourself is also trusting, you're doing your best work. You're looking out for yourself and other people and kids. And I mean, we all are trying our best. Like, not everyone tries their best. I say all, but I don't think all. Yeah. I think, and I do think that there's a struggle right now too, just that people in power are struggling. I wish I could just say, hey, instead of all this ugliness, instead of sending out these horrible messages of hate and why the other person is terrible, right, is what would happen if we had someone that said positives, someone that said, hey, you know what, I'm not going to say anything bad about Nick Jackson, but what I'm going to tell you is about myself. And I'm going to tell you what I'm willing to fight for and what I'm willing to do. And these are my action steps, and this is my game plan. Right. And I mean, and it's the same with friendships, even the workplace. If you don't think about when you trust your boss, when those little acts of things, like I had a boss that would just continuously always have the right timing. And it would be simple things. Show up to a meeting and have snacks, knowing that nobody's eaten all day long. Right. That's a simple thing. Or when somebody died in your family, they didn't just send you an email and say sorry. They showed up. Like it's building this trust that is built on this human connection and these simple acts, spending time together, and also valuing people's time. Right. Like, I want to value that you're in my room. How do I make you feel comfortable and trust me to be yourself in this room, in this space? I mean, we all have a lot of work to do, but I do think it can be done with those small little things. Showing up, being for real, knowing you have biases and work on them. And when you're in a realm of people that make jokes about very serious things, step out of that circle. Right. People will know. People will know quickly you do not stand for what they're saying. And then you hope that you plant this seed of change in them. That someday they'll say, gosh, I trust her because there was a time in a meeting when she just got up and walked out because what they said was hurtful to a group of people. Right. 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 I mean, Nick Jackson, trust is a big thing right now. And I think if we start with ourselves and breathe and be ourselves no matter where we are, I think that's the change. I think that's when we can say, hey, I do have something I can give you. And that is how to trust in spite of all this hurting, in spite of all these mixed messages, in spite of all the things you see on TV and the news and everything pulling you in every which way. Right. Take a step back. Take a step back. Trust yourself enough to surround yourself with people too that fill your jar and they fill you up with consistency and love.
I got to say, we got to end on that note. Find the people that fill your jar and be one of those people. I'm Nick Jackson, yes. And this is. You got to say your name.
Do you want me to? Mary Rose Lierman.
I trust you. Let me tell you. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you for having me. Get out there and trust yourself and other people. And just remember, trust is built in very small moments.